is a place that I went back 8 times. And sometimes I would just go there to walk around, and you can see all the different famous people that walk, that are buried there, and people that come there also just to walk and to kind of reminisce, and sometimes just watching the other people that are there is kind of amazing. This is the Kennedy Eternal Flame at Arlington, with the Arlington House up above that used to belong to Robert E. Lee. And as some of you may know, the Arlington Cemetery was actually made right on Robert E. Lee's plantation property that was confiscated by the North and eventually set aside as Arlington Cemetery. This is the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, where there are still 3 buried soldiers whom are unknown. There was one fellow who was exhumed several years ago, but now there still are 3 remaining. And this is a wreath ceremony here that some of the local cadets were doing in honor of one of the cadets' father, who also was a police officer. So different interest groups can go and place wreaths on the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. When you're here at the tomb, there's just a sense of great awe and respect, and you see some of the other vets there honoring their fallen comrades, and it's just a hush that comes over the crowd, and you just can't help but be lulled into that little hush. I also went to Mount Vernon, which is the home of George Washington. And this is the backside of Mount Vernon, and it looks out over the Potomac River. And a lot of events are still held here every week of the year. And it's truly, truly beautiful, Mount Vernon. You can go through it, and it's very orderly and informative, and it's amazing. George Washington was amazing. So I was very blessed to have gotten to go here. This is George Washington's carriage and the actual tombs of George and Martha Washington. And then I ventured into the Washington Mall area. This is the Capitol building, and you can set up tours through your congressmen and senators, which I did several times. I loved it. I think I went through the Capitol building 5 different times with different family members who came to visit me in D.C. And this is me during the Cherry Blossom Festival, which happens in April. There's cherry blossoms planted all over DC, and when they are in bloom, visitors come from around the world, and it is the busiest time of year for Washington, D.C. as far as tourism goes, and that again is in April, but it is so worth the journey and the view. And speaking of views, there is a rotating restaurant, kind of like the Space Needle in Seattle, but this is quite ironically overlooking the Pentagon. So it's a really interesting view of the Pentagon, which I was surprised they would allow such a restaurant to be built so close. This is my favorite monument. This was the Jefferson, and everything is in walking distance from the mall area. And I walked Washington, D.C. so many times I could tell you all about all the different historical things there. This is the Lincoln Memorial. It's really quite enough to just about bring a tear to your eye when you first walk up those steps. And there's also tours available at night. And I took this picture one night on kind of a cloudy, stormy night. And I thought it was just amazing, the view of the Lincoln. So again, I went to this place. I went to all the memorials many, many times in D.C. And everything is free in the district. All the museums and monuments. So I love DC so much. I stayed a year. I just kept extending, and I worked at 2 different facilities, and I loved every minute of it. And of course, my agency, they got this great place for me in Alexandria, and everything was close. I could ride the metro, and on my days off, I would call my family and tell them, oh, today is Metro Girl Day, and they knew that I had my little Metro card, and I was off to explore our nation's great capital. This is the Washington Monument, and you can go up in there and take a tour all the way to the top. And if you go on the National Park Service website, you can reserve a ticket without having to wait in line, and it's $1.50 to buy your ticket.